Nope.
Hello, dear listener, and thank you for joining me in this week's video. This story was submitted to me via Facebook by author Jazzmin Forrestall. To avoid any confusion, I should also mention that this story is told in the first person of a female protagonist, so don't let my deep, manly baritone voice throw you off. Anyway, let's just begin the story, huh? You know you've hit rock bottom when you seek refuge in a gas station bathroom to cry. This is what I realized as I stared at my puffy face in the grimy mirror of an out-of-order restroom in the middle of nowhere. The closest thing to luck I had enjoyed in a while was the conveniently unlocked door. The privacy was a relief, despite the disrepair of the place I had fallen into. A cloying, oily stink permeated the air, like molding flowers, combined with something unidentifiable, but undoubtedly malevolent. It stung my bloodshot eyes and burned my sinuses. The place felt dirty, not just on a physical level. It was as if the filth penetrated your mind, coating your consciousness in the same layer of greasy filth that covered every inch of that vile den. I felt as if the foulness was seeping into the cracks of my broken heart, corrupting my mind, body, and soul. I wondered if my husband had been right to cheat on me, if I wasn't good enough, or if I deserved to walk in on him in bed with his subordinate after returning home early. I blamed myself for his infidelity. I didn't know exactly when the love of my life had betrayed me for that blonde, but I knew that if he didn't love me, I had no reason to go on. We had met in high school, and since then, he had been my light. He was the reason I got up in the morning, the reason for my continued existence. I felt as if without him, I would simply cease to function. You hideous, fat cow! I spat at the tarnished mirror. My reflection looked ruddy and distorted in the warped glass. I glared at it, gripped by hatred, unable to turn away. The creak of the heavy door broke my trance, and I whipped around. Before me stood a pale, bony teenage girl. Her dark auburn hair appeared to be going gray at the roots. She wore threadbare hiking clothes. She looked up at me through a curtain of hair. Her eyes looked as if they were once blue, but, like her hair, were descending into a pale silver gray. They appeared apologetic, as if she had wronged me in some way. "Sorry about this," she said, her voice diminutive and meek. "Sorry for what?" I asked, perplexed. There was something odd, almost eerie, about her voice. It sounded hollow and defeated, but beneath that, there was an air of desperation and hunger. I'm so very, very sorry," she whimpered, tears now flowing down her pale cheeks. "I have to." "What do you have to do, honey?" I said, my motherly instinct kicking in, despite my own weakness. She seemed vulnerable and scared, nothing but a poor little girl lost in the big world. "At least tell me what's wrong." "You wouldn't believe me," she said matter-of-factly. "It is just too strange for rational belief." At her mention of the strange, a chill ran down my spine. I was on Cranberry Island, in Nova Scotia, the island on which the town of Cranberry Falls dwelled. Cranberry Falls was notorious for its ghost stories and folklore, and many have claimed to have witnessed bizarre and terrifying things on the awful island. "I'll give you the benefit of the doubt," I said, dread washing over me. "There are a lot of strange things on this island." The girl laughed, a dry, raspy sound. "Lady," she said, smiling painfully, "you have no idea." "So?" I said apprehensively. "Do you want to talk about it?" She narrowed her eyes. "Sure," she said. "Why not?" "I was visiting Cranberry Falls in order to debunk some of the urban myths that surround this place," she said, letting out a bark of sarcastic laughter. "Shows you how much I know, eh?" She chuckled under her breath, continuing. "You know the dead spot?" she said, raising a gray eyebrow. It was clearly a rhetorical question. Everybody knew about the dead spot, and everybody avoided it. People who didn't avoid it always came back different. "So anyways," she said, "I was a tourist here, and I wanted to see if this dead spot was real. So I decided to go investigate the area. People told me not to go, but being the moron I was, I ignored their warnings and checked it out." I was enthralled, curious to know more about the mystery my hometown had held to its chest for so long. "What was it like?" I asked, trying to mask the curiosity that dripped from every syllable. Her face darkened, her eyes glazing over as if she were in a trance. She spoke in a low, intense voice. "It was a warm summer day, and the world was wonderful. I stood upon the grassy ridge overlooking that wretched stain on this earth, and I was curious. The old saying was wrong. Curiosity didn't kill me. It damned me to a fate worse than death." She looked at me, her eyes brimming with tears. "I walked right up to the edge of the circle. It was just the line. It stretched up to the clouds. There was a perfect circle of inky thunderheads in a perfectly blue sky directly above it. I crossed that line, and it was the worst mistake I have ever made." What happened?" I asked in terror, turning my blood to ice and my voice dropping to a soft whisper. She stared at me directly in the eye, her face twisted in a mask of grief and pain. "I changed," she said. "The second I stepped over the line of death, I knew I was trapped. I turned around to see more cadaverous gray trees. The dead forest stretched eternally behind me, as if there had never been anything else. The air held a cloying, oily stench like death and lilac blossoms. There was no temperature. There was no wind to rattle through the dead boughs to carry that awful smell." She took a shaky breath. "I don't know how I came to be the way I am, but I know that it happened once the sun set." I tried to break her frosty gaze, but I was physically unable to. It was as if my eyes were magnetically drawn to hers. My breathing came in shaky gasps, as if my lips formed the words independently of my free will. What are you? I whimpered softly. I am what comes from that place, she said. The crimson light of the setting sun bathed the trees in a wash of red. The sunset tasted like blood, as if the light had a flavor. Shadows danced across my peripheries, inky shapes on the vermilion backdrop. They clawed at the corners of my vision, whispering and hissing with mocking laughter. I cried, and they laughed and laughed. With every passing second, they grew larger and closer. And then, darkness. She paused, inky tears pouring from her eyes. I am one of the things that haunt this place. The flesh-eating immortals who cannot die, nor control their hunger. I am one of the monsters that dwell in Cranberry Falls. My blood turned to ice as pure fear gripped me. I had feared these creatures since my childhood, and now there was one standing a meter before me. A lump formed in my throat, threatening to suffocate me. I stared into her bleak gray irises and knew I would never be seen again. That's when I realized that I was fine with that. I had nothing to live for anyway, so why shouldn't I let her eat my flesh? Maybe I would be useful for once in my life. Go ahead and kill me, I said flatly. I deserve to die. The girl looked taken aback. Why do you think that? She asked, a hint of genuine empathy hiding under her words. I have nothing left, I said, my voice catching and devolving into sobs. I fell to my knees on the filthy floor, a deluge of tears flowing from my eyes. The girl crouched down beside me, her face a mask of concern. Why? She asked. Because I am unloved, I sobbed. It's my fault my husband cheated on me. I couldn't even keep the love of my life from hating me. I'm worthless. The girl stroked my hair. It isn't your fault, she said warmly. He is the one who cheated on you. My predicament is my fault. Yours isn't. But why? I cried. Why would he cheat on me if there was nothing wrong with me? Maybe because he's a scumbag? The girl said with a hint of sarcasm. Maybe because he doesn't appreciate you. You love that man to death, and he stabbed you in the back. What did you do wrong? She had a point. I could tell she was far wiser than me. Seriously, honey, she said sarcastically. You're talking to me about mistakes. Last I checked, you aren't the one who literally damned herself to an eternity of cannibalism in under 5 minutes. She laughed bitterly, and I managed a smile. Speaking of flesh eating, would you like some help dealing with your hubby's mistress? A wicked sort of glee spread through me at the thought of that girl getting eaten by my newfound friend. Before I had a chance to think it through, I responded with a brisk yes. Now that his secretary is gone, my husband has realized the error in his ways and begged me to take him back. I rejected him though, and I'm now enjoying my life as a single lady. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this week's story. If you did, be sure to chew up that like button down below and subscribe for future stories if you haven't done so already. A big thank you to Jazzmin Forrestall for submitting her story. If you want to check out the author, there is a link in the description where you can do just that. Until next time, everybody, stay safe out there. I'll be seeing you in the next video.